it's Natasha and thank you so much for joining me today. Today we have a kind of bringing all the pieces together kind of card making. Sometimes when you don't feel like making absolutely everything from scratch, you can enjoy just making one or two elements and then bringing everything together in the end. This here I'm going to be creating a bit of a background. You could definitely start off with some coloured cardstock or some craft coloured cardstock, that would be great. But today I want a very, very subtle background, so I'm going to use some tumbled glass and some Hickory Smoke Distress Oxide inks, which I have put down onto a non-stick sheet. I have some Holtz watercolor paper. This is the rough side, and then this here is the smooth side. I prefer to use the smooth side for my card making, but this is my absolute most favorite watercolor paper and the only one that I have now. So I am going to kind of dip this in and out. Of course, these are water reactive inks, which means when you add water, they're going to kind of act a little bit like watercolors, I guess. You can dip them in, move them around, you can layer oxides up really well. So if you dry it completely, then you can add some little, dip it back in and add some little splotches and things, and you're going to get new patterns that layer on top of the old ones. I want a really subtle background, so that's all I was going for at the moment. Now I'm going to take that and run it through with an embossing folder. This is the 3D texture fades called Woven, and this one is kind of reminds me of like burlap or fabric. It has that really textured but like a subtle texture. After all, this is just the background that we are creating, and then when I bring it out, you can see on the back here, you can probably see it even better, but on the front there is a little bit of texture. Now I do want to bring that out just a tiny bit more, so I'm taking some vintage photo distress oxide ink and I'm going to water this down a lot. This is the only brown ink that I have, so if you have something that's not quite as strong, then that is going to work as well. But I watered this down a whole lot, and that's kind of, I like it that I can use this one color, and all I need to do, if I need a really concentrated bit of ink, then I could use the re-inker. And if I'm trying to go for a much more subtle look, then I will use some water to dilute it down. Now I am taking this kind of was a dry brush, obviously now it has a bit more water on it, and I am just brushing some strokes through this to pick up on that linen woven sort of texture, and I just want it to be, as I said, the background. So it is going to kind of, I know it doesn't look absolutely complete, but that's exactly the look that I am going for. I'm going to ink up the edges a little bit. I feel like I haven't done that in a fair while for my card making. And then I just put a bit of random brown ink in the middle just for the sake of it. Now I am loving these frames. I'm actually loving 49 in Market recently. Some of their range really speaks to me, some of it doesn't, and I can pass up on it easily. But when you are adding elements together and you just need a card to come together quickly, then some of these elements I find from their range work really well for my style of card making. So these square stitched frames are going to provide a really nice space to center some of my elements. Then I have the Burlap texture die from Altenew. This is a newish one in my stash and I absolutely love this. You'll see this coming up in a few cards. This is the second or third video I have used it already and I just got it this week. I absolutely love this die. It is just the perfect for some background texture, the perfect die. So I am just going to use a little bit of it peeking out of the corner here. I'm using a little bit of double-sided tape to pop this on, but you could use liquid glue if you wanted to as well. And I'm just going to hang it kind of hanging out of the corner. I don't want the full amount there, so I'm just going to pick the bit that I like with those kind of straggly ends to it. I like that burlap look, and then cut the rest off. And I can probably save this bit too because I will be able to use that no doubt. So I'll pop that in my little saving pile. And then I just love that little bit peeping through the corner. The next thing I have here is the Strawberry Lemonade Rub-On Transfer Sets. Now I have done a few videos featuring some of their rub-ons because honestly you can make so many cards from these. I actually have an entire video where I just used one set of rub-ons and I made a whole set of cards from them, each one of them different. So if you look back in my channel you'll find that as well. But this set is just gorgeous. So much texture for the background, some stitching, some watercolor. These are sequins, some words and sentiments and encouragement, and then this gorgeous background text, as well as these utterly beautiful butterflies. Now the butterflies are what I'm going for today, and with rub-ons I find it easiest to just cut out the elements that I need, and then that way I know I'm not going to ruin any of the other elements accidentally when I am putting something down and rubbing it on. It's just the easiest way for me, but you don't have to do that either. I'm choosing 3 of these butterflies, kind of roughly going for a largish, a mediumish, and a smallish, just give or take. And then the way that I'm going to use these today is I'm popping them down on a scrap piece of paper. But even when I was doing this and I see these all in a row and I think, I could pivot here and make a really good card. I've just got a great idea that I wanted just using this kind of layout. I mean, I just think this looks stunning. But anyway, I knew I was filming, so I needed to finish the card at hand. That's how easily I get distracted. My brain just kind of goes fast and I just want to move on to the next thing as well when the idea pops into my head. But anyhow, I am going to fussy cut these out. Now, I like these butterflies because they have all really straight edges and it's not tricky at all to fussy cut them. I did choose to leave their antennae on, and it wasn't too fussy about it. It was pretty easy. But when I am choosing images to fussy cut, as you will all know, I prefer to really focus on those that are the easiest to do. So when I was choosing the butterflies, of course that came into my thinking, but most of the ones in this pack are really easy as well. Then I'm using some nice tearable double-sided tape, not terrible, just tearable, that I can just rip without having to get out a pair of scissors, which I'm loving. I'm popping this down onto a 4 1/4 by 5.5 inch card base, and then it's really just a matter of popping everything together. I did decide to pop some foam tape around the edge here, just give it a little bit of lift and a little bit of dimension. I quite like that for this gorgeous frame that we're going to use. Because I'm going to pop this on an angle, it is slightly wider than the card base that I have selected. You can do 2 things, either 1, trim it off like I have here, or 2, you could make a custom size card base a little bit bigger, and that way you wouldn't have to trim. Of course, these squares would look really nice on a square card as well, so that's another option too. Then I have a play with the butterflies and see where I want these to go. I pretty much like my layout straight away, so I'm just going to pop a little bit of foam tape on one of the wings and then use some liquid glue to pop them down so that they're kind of nice and adhered and they're going to stay really safe. This card, unfortunately, I needed this week is for a sympathy card. However, I do think that this could be used for a birthday. I think this could be used to celebrate graduations. I mean, this could be used for a whole lot of really cool things. And of course, you can change up the elements that you add to the front. This is just one of those cards where I needed it relatively quickly. This card took me about, I think 20, I think the filming was about 22 minutes or so, and I have cut this down obviously and sped some of it up for filming, but it didn't take me long at all to make, and I pretty much kind of knew in my head what I wanted to add and all of the elements that I wanted to bring together, and it was a matter that I didn't really have to make everything from scratch, and that helps when it comes to needing a card quickly for me anyway. I like to do a range of cards. I like to kind of have some that I really have to work at and I make everything from scratch, and sometimes that's the way, and then other times, sometimes I just give in to purchasing a few new bits and pieces, and that also keeps my mind fresh, it keeps my card making creative, and it gives me lots of new ideas that I can already use the things that I have for as well. So I hope that you have enjoyed this video today. Of course, I will have everything linked down below in case you are interested in checking anything out that I've used in today's video. I also have my P.O Box address down there, and I also have another couple of ways that you can help out my YouTube channel down there as well. So if you would like to see that, click the little more button down below this video on YouTube. But other than that, thank you so much for joining me today. Let me know if you loved my creation today as much as I did, because this is a favorite for me. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.